blessed. Wake up thanking God, he showed me how to reinvest. All this stress, I was giving game to you peons from the gate. Use my own self as examples. I live raw and never hate.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TNC Reacts. You know, usually I have a great opening and all of those things, but I have to be very honest. The internet is a dark place, and the reason I'm even making this video is because I've heard of something called the Grape Academy. Now, it is not spelled exactly grape. Take out the G, you know what it means. But there was this recent explosion, like, boom, there are men out here teaching other men how to grape women and all of that stuff. And I'm like, what in the world? It was on Threads first, and now it's exploded everywhere. I've looked at CNN, read their article, and it is, I can understand why women are afraid of men. I can understand why women choose the bear, you know, in most situations, because this particular website or chat group were a bunch of men going back and forth, speaking to one another about how to properly grape their women, drug them, put them to sleep, and then violate them, and then film it and put it online. Yes, I am serious. This was something that was coached to each other. The amount of milliliters, grams of medicine that you would need to make sure that they stay asleep through the whole encounter. Now, the issue with these type of things is, yes, there was only 1,000 so-and-so subscribers, but it had 62 million visits. Now, people are like, well, that's just people who looked into it. Doesn't mean that they're really with it. Trust me, the only reason they heard of it was because they knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody. And we have to be honest. With the 62 million, they said most of that was in the U.S. And they did horrible things. Like, they did this thing called the eye check, where they would lift the woman's eyelid up to see and prove that she was drugged to sleep. And I find it just disgusting because, you know, as a man, you try to defend men as much as you can, but there are just moments where you're like, it is just evil men out here. And there's no bearings on me. I don't hang with these people. I don't know who these people are. And the truth of the matter is that bad people hang with bad people. You know, if for some reason they all know how each other get down, because they can tell. They do the questionnaires, they test your waters and see if you're really on that. And it's truth be told, it's time for men to really get to the point where they got to start defending women against these type of individuals. You got dudes that were married to their women for 16 years and violating them. You know, there was one over in France. Dude would, you know, drug his lady, put her to sleep, and let other dudes come in and get it. And it was up into the total of 70, over 200 times, 70 different men. They only caught 50 of them. So just imagine your husband is doing this to you. And the lady said this is a very powerful statement. It says, you don't expect anything other than innocence to come from your partner. And that's realistic. Excuse me. We have to understand that typically when you marry somebody, you're expecting that person to be your provider, protector, you know, someone that is going to look out for you. Till death do us part, for better or worse, we're going to be riding together on this path to make sure both of us are good. But what do you do when the call is coming from inside the house? You know what I mean? What do you do when the villain is the person you married? You know, not only that, like, this goes beyond just some villain stuff. Like, you are just the lowest of the low. You setting your partner up, your wife up to be great by other men. And not just them, yourself. You drugging her. Like, dude. You know, and this not even just for wives. They was doing this to girlfriends, so on and so forth. You know, and a lot of these people got kids that are around them, things like that. And it makes you wonder, how whack of a human being do you have to be that you got to drug women in order to get laid? You know, we never talk about this for real. Like, you know, it already takes a lot to get a female. You know, you got to be able to approach her. You got to be able to talk to her. You got to be able to do all these different things. But what comes with that is confidence, ego booster. You know, you grow as an individual when you start applying these methods, right? But because you're so weak-minded and so lame, so lazy, and just a piece of trash that you gotta drug somebody to try to get what you want out of it. You're a horrible person. And to the men that are married doing this, how whack do you have to be where your wife don't want to give you none, so you like, I'm a drugger? That's some sick stuff. And then you're doing it for the accolades from people you'll never meet online. There's a bunch of people that's typing that you'll never see. Like, how weak-minded are you? How disgusting are you? How sad of a human being are you to think that this is acceptable to do? Well, no, you don't, because that's why you're sneaking on these chats and doing it. You're not doing it in an open, worldwide for everybody to see. No, you're doing it quietly, sneaking around, because you a sucker at heart. You a coward. And a lot of times these cowards run together. You know, that's why a lot of people don't know about this stuff. The only reason I'm hearing about it is because it just exploded. And men have to start making a very hard line in the sand. There's no reason to justify 62 million people jumping on this unless they're going on there and starting to report people because they figured out how to get their names. But if you just jumping on it to see what the content is about and you don't report it, you're on that side. I'm sorry, you part of that gang, you part of that crew, you part of that type of mindset that you would probably do that as well. And you're just trying to warm your way up to it. You know what I mean? I mean, the internet is always had the dark web, the dark space where people just do some of the most horrendous things. But, you know, it's still like the wild, wild west. There's no real regulations on these things, but I'm hoping that they get that regulated. Not freedom of speech, but the actions of harming other people. Yes, get that in line. Shut that type of stuff down. Because how do we keep people safe if people are getting coached by one another on how to violate people? How to take booty without, without their approval. You know what I'm saying? Without consent. How do you stop these type of people? You know what I mean? You could try to raise them to be good human beings and teach them that these things are wrong, but they already know that. You know they already know it. They just choose to be grimy human beings and cowards at that. A bunch of soft people who really think this is what it is. And you know, it makes me worry more and more. Like, I've already worried about the women around me and just friends of mine and things like that. But it seems that it is exploding even more to where we're seeing more of the ugliness. And now that you're knowing that husbands and boyfriends are actively unwillingly doing this, it makes you really question, do you know who you're dealing with? But let me know what you think down in the comments section. Am I tripping? Am I going too hard? Or am I right on path? And men, we really got to get on board and start getting rid of these type of people, because at the end of the day, they're making it harder for us as men to actually function and just be ourselves without worrying about being projected as a monster who's going to take booty at any time and day. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that we got to kind of destroy and get rid of, that type of mindset of who we are. But let me know what you think down in the comment section and be on the lookout for more videos. All right, everybody? Peace.